Hi guys, I'm Matt Schlicht with ZapChain, and I'm here with Tim Draper. We're super happy to have him. Founder of DFJ, they've invested in more companies than I can count, and Draper Associates. And he is headmaster at Draper University. Welcome to the Bitcoin course.
Great, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, we're super excited. We think that you can enlighten the millions of people that are watching us right now.
Terrific. All right, millions of people.
Hi guys. So do you want to talk a little bit about DFJ or Draper University?
Sure. DFJ is in the venture capital business, and Draper Associates does more early stage investing. And I've always been focused on that entrepreneur and what an entrepreneur can do for all of us. And I'm always looking for new technologies and new ways for people to operate, because then we can progress as a society.
Which makes
and
sense.
Very exciting. And I started Draper University of Heroes to encourage people to become entrepreneurs and to see if entrepreneurship could be taught. And it turns out it can.
Which is awesome. And by the way, guys, if you have not checked out Draper University, you should go do that, because the campus is awesome and the people are awesome, and you should just look into that because it's really cool.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So back to Bitcoin, because that's what the world wants to hear about.
Okay, good.
Bitcoin's been around for 5 years now, a little longer than 5 years. How did you first learn about it? And when you learned about it, was it confusing?
It was a little confusing, except that the first I heard of a virtual currency was from this billionaire from Korea who came to me and he said that his son wanted a sword for his birthday. And this was 7 years ago.
It's a good birthday present.
And it was a sword, and I said, well, that's great. And he said, no, a virtual sword, so that he could play in this game. And he said, and I'm playing in this game, and I have to work during the day, so that I've hired somebody to be my avatar during the day, and then I take over at night, because you build more and more value over time.
Right.
So they were, in Korea, they were living in this virtual world for a long time, and it got to be a very important part of their society. So I was very familiar with virtual currencies. So Bitcoin, to me, at the beginning, felt like just another virtual currency. But then I saw that it was open, and it was open to everyone, and that we could all trade in this Bitcoin, and it wasn't tied to one game or one way of operating or discounts at Starbucks. It was a currency that really had the ability to be a global and very interesting currency. So I got very excited about it, and I backed a couple of the early Bitcoin companies, and like all pioneers, a few have arrows in their backs, but we learned as we went, and got more and more excited about Bitcoin. And then I realized that it was possibly world-changing. It was possibly the kind of thing that, as the internet was to communications and information, Bitcoin could be for commerce and business, and commerce and finance. And because now there is a very efficient, very fast way for me to pay you, for me to send you money over a border, for me to invest in you and get my electronic shares back.
All these things sound really good.
Yeah,
by the
okay.
way.
You,
Yes.
any of you.
All of you.
So this was I looked at it and I said, wow, this is suddenly a major opportunity. And so we backed a couple of companies that were for exchanges. We backed a couple of companies that were for banking, a couple of companies that were ways of paying for goods and services online, ways of paying for goods and services offline. We now have a large portfolio of Bitcoin companies that we think are going to be as transformative to finance and commerce as the internet companies were to communications and information.
That's awesome. I mean, we probably wouldn't be as far along if you and other investors hadn't started putting capital into the Bitcoin industry. I think that's actually a really big point, because in order for Bitcoin to succeed, we need more smart people who can focus on Bitcoin full time. And so I think it's really awesome that you kind of, it's a risk, right? And you did it. Someone had to. It wasn't going to work if someone didn't. And even if all those companies you put money into didn't do as well as everyone hoped, that's still awesome, and the industry was able to move forward.
Yeah. What's great is that there's this whole infrastructure that's being built around Bitcoin. Many, many companies. There are hundreds now, maybe something like 500 Bitcoin companies out there. And then many, many more who are now accepting Bitcoin. But 500 different entrepreneurs are all trying to use Bitcoin to transform an industry or another. And that really does start to build, it builds usage, it builds value, it makes the Bitcoins themselves more valuable, it makes our lives a little easier, and I think it will move money faster.
Yep.
And it turns out that that is one of the measures of the most advanced societies, is how fast money moves through the economy. And the dollar has moved very quickly because we now use a Federal Reserve note.
Right.
Before that, it was tied to silver or to gold or to whatever. And before that, it was actually gold or silver. Now, this is another way that we can move money around much faster. And all the countries of the world are now looking at this and saying, is it a huge opportunity or is it a threat to our society? And my belief is that it is an enormous opportunity. If the US had started to put all sorts of constraints on the internet, all of these US companies would not have benefited, and the US in general would not have benefited from this huge growth of the internet. Well, the same thing is happening now with Bitcoin. People are deciding whether do we let it run free or do we put constraints on it, and what constraints are those, and is it light touch or is it heavy touch government? And I believe that the lightest touch governments will succeed hugely and get the benefit of all of these companies who are getting started in Bitcoin. Now, it's interesting that in Korea, this place where they started with these virtual currencies, they are the most open to Bitcoin. And now we've made 2 investments in Bitcoin companies in Korea, CoinPlug and Corbit.
Nice.
And we're very happy about those. And I believe that we will continue to make those investments in those countries that are the most accepting of Bitcoin, whether it's the government or the people. In the case of Argentina, we have a company called Bitpagos in Argentina, and that's because they have a national currency, their peso, that just keeps collapsing.
Right.
And if you have a currency that keeps collapsing because you're just printing more money, then no one trusts that currency, and they can't create any kind of stored value in that currency. They know that that currency is the one that you have to get rid of as quickly as possible. Bitcoin is a great place to put some stored value. And so Bitpagos is making it so that people can make transactions through Bitcoin rather than through Argentinian pesos.
Right, and I think that's a really good point, because probably a lot of people that are watching, they may have heard of Bitcoin and they think, oh, this is some virtual currency. Like, they're still back what you first heard about when the sword, right? You're like, oh, this is for like a video game.
Right.
But no, like, there's actual people in the world that don't have a stable local currency, and Bitcoin can actually have a huge impact on their lives. Like, take away all the other, amazing and awesome things that Bitcoin can do and can like move us forward. Like, that alone is, I think that's pretty huge and pretty important for people to realize.
I think there's another major feature of Bitcoin, and that is we pay 2.5% to 5% on credit cards, every credit card transaction. So every time I buy something from you, every time you buy something from me, anytime we go to the store, we're paying the credit card companies, and that creates more friction to commerce. With Bitcoin, there are ways of going and making those transactions without paying the credit card companies.
Right.
And not working through credit, but working through Bitcoin debit. And so we are going to be able to make these purchases, and right there, the world economy grows by 2 or 3%, right there with Bitcoin.
Huge.
And 2 or 3% on a world economy is, it may even be $1 trillion.
Yeah.
It's really quite extraordinary what could possibly happen out there with this new, wonderful Bitcoin currency.
Yeah, and I think that one of the really exciting things is we don't know exactly what it could become. Like, we have a lot of ideas around it, but I think that's why a lot of people are super excited about it, because it's like, I don't fully understand it, but we're trying to.
Well, no one fully understands the internet either. But
or
they
electricity,
understand that they can do with
or
it.
anything.
Yeah, they can understand what they can do with it.
Yep.
Same kind of thing with Bitcoin. They're going to learn, hey, I can buy things and I don't have to pay the credit card company. Or, hey, I can send money to my family in Mexico, but I don't have to pay 8% to Western Union.
Right. So people that are watching, if they're going to go Google you, search for Tim Draper, one of the things that will probably come up is that you won the auction for the almost 30,000 Bitcoins from the US Marshals.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of Bitcoins, especially today. We don't know exactly how much he won for, but it'd be around $20 million. So why did you do that? What kind of compelled you to get that many
Well,
Bitcoins?
there are two reasons. One is Bitcoin is set up so that there are 13 million of them out there, and eventually there will be 21 million, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
So part of me says, hey, this is a great way to capture some value if Bitcoin becomes quite valuable, and I am projecting a price of $10,000 in 3 years. So I think that Bitcoin will be worth $10,000 in 3 years, and so I looked at that and I thought, great opportunity. The other piece is that if you have a large block of Bitcoin, you can do some interesting financial work, and much the way a bank with a lot of capital can do a lot of work. And I'm working with Varum, and with Varum we are creating new financial vehicles. And those new financial vehicles can be quite valuable to society, and particularly in third world countries. They can make a big impact on society. And so I took the risk, realizing that it was an auction, and when you win at auction, you know that you've paid more than the rest of the people bid.
Right.
But I knew that by capturing that, I would do two things. One is we would be the center of activity for Bitcoin. All the entrepreneurs know that this is the place to come. And go to Draper Associates or go to Boost. They know that now. And that large amount of Bitcoin can be real stability for new kinds of financial vehicles, and those are soon to be announced.
It's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like investing in a couple of companies is one thing, but buying 30,000 Bitcoins in an auction with a lot of other people is another, I think. So I always wondered, when the U.S. Marshals sent you these 30,000 Bitcoins.
That was a great day.
Which,
it was
like,
hilarious.
that would drive, like, I would be so nervous, because with Bitcoin, you have this really, really long string of characters, which is your address.
Right.
Did they, like typically with like a bank or someone, they'll send you like like $1 or something to check. Did they do that?
It turns out they weren't able to do that because of the way it was all set up. And it was very interesting. We ran through all the authentication cycles, and we weren't really comfortable until we'd been through 3 or 4. And the first one took a long, long time, and I'm not quite sure why that was. And we were looking and thinking, well, wait, every hacker in the world was trying to break into this system and intercept the Bitcoin. And we were, so we were very nervous about it, but the US Marshals office was good to their word, very solid. They did a beautiful job of transferring the Bitcoin. It was done in such a way that we had, all of the best people in the world in the room making sure that this transfer happened, and it worked out fine. One of the people in the world I had in there was my partner's son, Leif Jurvetson, who has been a Bitcoin user forever, and or Bitcoin buyer forever, and he came to the conclusion that Bitcoin price could never go down. Well, he realized that there was a limited supply, and he's now 13 years old, I think. Anyway, we had him in there as one of our Bitcoin experts, and we also had some good Bitcoin security people. But I was very happy to do this thing, and it was a very exciting day watching that happen. But there was a good half hour before the first authentication came in, and normally that's 5 or 10 minutes.
Right.
And we weren't quite sure what was going on in the meantime. But
you're like, are we going to get the Bitcoins?
That's right.
Like, is there some kid in like Milwaukee that's like,
Right.
Mom,
What?
I just got like a lot of the internet money.
I can pay for college.
Yeah,
now.
oh, and like everything.
Right.
That would be an expensive college.
That would have been expensive.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would have been a bad day for you. But
it was a good day.
It was a good day though. So, where do you think Bitcoin's going? Like, what are the innovations you're seeing now? Like, there's smart contracts, there's like crypto equity. Like, what do you believe in? What are you trying to look for?
One of the great things about Bitcoin is is that through that technology, you can also have a ledger. It's built as a ledger, and a ledger works in a lot of different ways. You can actually you can have accounting without accountants. You can have contracts without lawyers. You can set up for an event. So let's say we have a contract, and I give you some money, and you give me some equity back. We set it up so that when the company, let's say I get half your company for $1 million or $100 million, whatever. Okay, $100 million. We set this up, and you get the money, and I get the equity, and then when the company is sold, or it goes public, or whatever, that's an event. And at that event, the money is immediately divided between us. It works very well for if you die, and you want to spread. And you want to spread, but you want to send the money to
like
all
your
of your
will
friends and your families and whoever. It can operate as an immediate redistribution that happens instantly.
Right.
So events, anything with an event at a later date can be quite valuable. It can be done in such a way that it saves many, many, many dollars and is much more honest and straightforward than our current system. So I love these smart contracts because they can build what's called a waterfall, which is really a money fall, for when you've made contracts, your business, and you've gone out and you've made contracts with various people, and then when your company is sold, a certain amount goes out to the bank, and another amount goes out to your employees, and then it goes out to the preferred shareholders, and then to the common shareholders. They call that a waterfall. That can all be built into a smart contract. The other thing that can be built into a smart contract is accounting. You can, I can sell you something. I sell you a shirt, you pay me money. Normally what has to happen is you have to get your accountant to say, oh, okay, you've sold a shirt, so your sales go up, and you got some money, or you haven't gotten your money yet, and your accounts receivable go up, and then your cash comes in, and then your cash goes up, and your accounts receivable goes down. I similarly have to do the same thing on my end in accounting, where I have my inventory has gone down, and so my shirts are down, and my cash has gone up because you've sent me cash. Those two accounting events can now be done automatically on both sides because of in effect, a smart ledger. This is transformative. This is something that can make all of our lives much easier, and all of the people who did all the accounting and legal work for those kinds of contracts can live even more productive lives. And some really amazing things could happen to our society. We'll end up with more scientists. We'll end up with more engineers.
More people focused on creativity.
On creating new great things. And we'll get off the planet sooner, and we'll cure cancer sooner, and our economic growth will explode at a much faster rate.
So basically, for everyone watching, Bitcoin will enable space travel.
Bitcoin will improve society.
Right. And allow us to do all these awesome things that we've always dreamed of and we make movies about. Awesome. So I think the last question is, if someone out there may be working on a smart contract company, maybe they
come visit me, Draper Associates. I'm Tim Draper, tim@draper.vc. Come and visit and send me a plan.
Cool. Yeah. Send Tim everything. he wants all the awesome Bitcoin companies, specifically smart contracts, or if you have something crazier, send it over to Tim. Well, thank you for letting us all in on all this information about Bitcoin. I think that you put it in such a way that a lot of people are trying to say this, but you say it in a really inspiring way that makes Bitcoin sound like you really understand that it can have a huge impact worldwide, and that this could just bring society up a level. And I think that's super exciting. So
yeah, I think it's going to make a big difference to all of us. I think it is a major opportunity for all of us, for all of the countries of the world, for all the businesses of the world to really have an accelerator behind us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Great.
All right.
My pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.